In 2024, America's trade deficit crossed $1 trillion again, even after years of aggressive tariffs, trade wars, and America First policies. That's the surprising part. Tariffs were supposed to reduce imports, protect domestic industries, and shrink the trade deficit. But instead, the deficit kept growing. So today, we're asking a critical question. Why is America's trade deficit rising despite tariffs? And what does it really tell us about the global economy? Before we dive into the controversy, let's get one thing clear. A trade deficit happens when a country imports more goods and services than it exports. In simple terms, America buys more from the world than the world buys from America. This matters because trade deficits are often blamed for job losses, deindustrialization, and economic dependence on foreign countries. That's why tariffs became such a powerful political and economic tool. The idea was simple. If imports become more expensive, Americans will buy domestic products. Sounds logical, but economics is rarely that simple. Tariffs are taxes placed on imported goods. Governments use them to protect domestic industries, reduce dependence on foreign suppliers, and improve the trade balance. During recent years, the U.S. imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum, electronics, machinery, and consumer goods, especially imports from China. The expectation was clear. Imports would fall, domestic production would rise, and the trade deficit would shrink. But here's the twist. Imports didn't collapse, consumers didn't stop buying, and the deficit didn't go away. Why? Despite tariffs, Americans kept importing, companies kept sourcing globally, and the deficit kept widening. This raises an uncomfortable question. Are tariffs actually effective? Or are they fighting the wrong battle? To understand this, we need to look deeper than tariffs themselves, because trade deficits are not just about trade policy. They're about how an economy is structured. First, American consumers. The U.S. has one of the strongest consumer markets in the world. Americans spend more, consume more, and buy more imported goods. Even when tariffs increase prices, consumers still buy. Companies absorb costs or shift suppliers instead of stopping imports. In short, tariffs didn't kill demand, they just changed supply routes. Modern manufacturing is global. A single product might involve design in the U.S., parts from Vietnam, assembly in China, packaging in Mexico. When tariffs hit one country, companies reroute production, shift imports through other nations, or slightly redesign products to avoid tariffs. The result? Imports continue, trade deficit remains. Tariffs don't break supply chains, they adapt them. Here's a factor most people ignore. The U.S. dollar is extremely strong. A strong dollar means imports are cheaper, exports are more expensive. So even with tariffs, foreign goods remain attractive. U.S. exports struggle to compete. Ironically, America's economic strength makes her trade deficit worse. This is the most important insight. The trade deficit reflects a deeper imbalance. Americans spend more than they save. When a country consumes more than it produces, it must import the difference. This isn't a trade issue, it's a macroeconomic reality. No tariff can fix that. Here's the turning point. Many economists agree on this. Trade deficits are not primarily caused by bad trade deals. They're caused by domestic economic choices. Tariffs treat the symptom, not the cause. They may shift trade patterns, raise prices, and create political leverage, but they don't change consumer behavior, fix savings imbalances, or restructure global production overnight. That's why the deficit persists. So, what have we learned? Tariffs alone cannot reduce trade deficits. Consumer demand drives imports, global supply chains adapt quickly, A strong dollar encourages imports, and trade deficits reflect deeper economic behavior. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think tariffs are still useful, or do they create more problems than solutions? Share your thoughts in the comments.